Before we get into today's episode, I want to let the viewers know, I want to let you guys know that at the end of the show, the guest from today, his name is Erik. He has sent in some photos from California Metal Shaping when he helped clear the property out between 2005 and 2011. I've worked them into the end of the episode. So if you want to stick around when the show is done, there's tons and tons of photos that you guys can see, and you can see what the place was all about back in the day, historically, and of course, up to the point that it was closed and then moved on to the new tenancy. So if you want to see the photos, stick around after the episode. And until then, thanks for checking out the show. Thanks for tuning into the Sheet Metal Shaping podcast, where we discuss the pursuit of sheet metal shaping education through traditional coach building techniques. My guest today on the show, all the way from California, the one and only Mr. Erik Sitka. What's up, man?
Hey, what's going on? How you doing?
I'm doing real good. I'm really excited for this. So for the viewers here, a little back history. So the show today, we're going to be talking all about California metal shaping and a bit of the history and the folklore about what that was. And I had on episode 32, Matt Salamanca on the show. And I got chatting with Matt, and he's like, oh, you got to get Erik on. Erik knows some things that, you know, are all about the history of Cal Metal and what it used to be and so forth. And a lot of the tools that Matt has in his shop are actually borrowed from Erik. So really excited to have you here, man, and looking forward to the show.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
So Cal Metal, a lot of folklore about California metal shaping.
Right.
Started back in the, what was like 1930s, 40s? 35. And then, you know, carried on to 2005, I think you said?
2005, correct. Yeah.
So that's how we're going to bookmark. Yeah, that's how we'll bookmark the years. So let's just do the who, what, where, when, and why of what Cal Metal was and roll with it from there. So where do we start?
It was established in 1935. And yeah, rolled to 2005. I guess the last owner was Don. Got it, I guess, from William, or Bill Honda, as he's known. You know, going through like World War II and stuff like that. You know, they got did some government contracts and stuff like that with, like, you know, we had like Lockheed Martin and, you know, all those big name places. And as you know, they built the first monorail at Disneyland and stuff like that. So,
you know, I didn't actually know that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. So, okay. So when they first began, what did the shop look like? Like what were the beginning? Were they humble beginnings? Did people come back from the war? Like, what did it look like at that time?
You know, I had seen a lot of pictures. As far as what it looked like, it looked pretty much the same. I mean, there was a lot of different, like the hammers at that time had, you know, they're on different types of columns and stuff like that than the later pictures that are being posted out on social media nowadays, you know, where it was up against the concrete walls and stuff like that, the concrete pillars that they had in the walls there. But yeah, I mean, they had everything from, you know, like they had drop hammers to, you know, that famous roller ball and, you know, all their hammers, you know. And then later on, I mean, I don't know if a lot of people know it, but they had Eccles there too, or at least a couple of piccolos. And because I've seen pictures of it with them in the, you know, a piccolo in there. So
nice.
Yeah. And then,
okay.
like,
geographically, where would California metal shaping have been? Like, where would it have been physically located back in the day? And did it stay put the whole time?
Yeah, it stayed put the whole time. It was in downtown, right in the middle of downtown LA. Yeah, right there. I mean, now the 10 freeway is, you can throw a rock at it, basically.
Yeah. You've been past it?
Yeah.
So is the building still standing there?
The building's still there. Yeah. They painted the front. So it, you know, because as of not long ago, I mean, it still said California Metal Shaping on it. And I believe the side, when you're standing facing the building and off to the right there's a white square painted on the brick. And I believe if you see real faintly, it still says California Metal Shaping, but could be wrong. I mean, it could be painted over by now, but this was a few years ago. It was still up.
Gotcha. And to take a step back, how did you get involved with California Metal Shaping?
A buddy of mine, he was in contact with like the landlord of the place, and it was already like Don had already sold off most of the equipment, because most of the equipment was posted, I think it was back in the late 2005, like August of 2005. It was in the Hemming Motor News. Like, Don posted, hey, hammers for sale, like yoders, pettingells, CP hammers, and stuff like that. And I believe then it basically went to an auction later on. The winners of the auction, I guess, just kind of took what they wanted. There was like, I guess, from what I was told, there's the Curtis Craft in there that they wanted. And they ended up getting that out, and a few other, I guess, small things like some bucks and stuff. And but yeah, left everything else. I mean, when we got in there to clean it out, it was 2011, I want to say.
So 6 years later.
6 years later, we went in and cleared it out. And I mean, there was still, like, there's that famous picture that's on the internet where they show like the bucks on the wall and everything like that. Still the same. It was exactly the same. Like, was untouched. It was pretty cool. And not, of course, I mean, there was my buddy ended up with like the CP hammer, but everything else was already gone, because I think most of the hammers went to back in the day, it was Westpac in Chino, which I guess is now somewhere in Colorado or somewhere. They took most of the stuff. Then I guess there was like a number 1, a number 2, and the LK, I believe, went up north to like Seattle somewhere.
So when you got in there and you got chatting with the landlord, like, how did that conversation even come to be? Did you reach out to that person and say, hey, it's still sitting empty? Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, that was with my buddy and the landlord. They had like some type of agreement to, like, go in there and he'll help clean them out, and the landlord's paying them to clean out and, replace the windows in the front and stuff like that. So it was a lot of work. It was pretty bad in there, because I guess, they just ravaged through the place, and there was a safe, and they broke into the safe and stuff like that. So stuff was scattered everywhere, and we ended up, like, all the racks for like the sheet metal and stuff like that. We ended up tearing that all out. The place leaked, like, when it rained. Man, it was, I was surprised, you could even stay dry in there at the time. And it was, they had, I guess there was that earthquake back in the day where you could see where they replaced the bricks. They just kind of bricked around the stuff that fell off. Instead of like fixing certain things, they made trays, and that's what funneled the leaky roof and stuff like that. That's pretty cool. Yeah, and then
why not make a tray, right? When you got all the metal in house, it's like, you know what, that roof is leaking. We're not roofers, but we can pound metal. we can make a tray to divert.
Yeah, but I was in there just taking pictures after picture after picture after picture after picture, So I got pictures of like just certain bricks, and I took pictures of everything I could take pictures of, and I ended up like even going through, because they had all the time cards, all the receipts, everything just scattered everywhere. And I went through and was dusting everything off and stacking them up, and I got it all filed away now. So I have like all the time cards for everybody, and
neat.
It's pretty cool because it's got everybody's signature on it. And
who would have been working there at the time?
Well, I have a lot of the later, like, more of the later stuff. It's like from the 60s and stuff, and that's like, of course, everybody knows Red and Leo and them, and then there, Scott Knight comes into play and stuff. So those are like, the famous guys,
Sure.
Bill Honda, or William as they call, or Bill as they call him, but William Honda and Don and them. So yeah.
And then when they closed up, so if we work our way back, when they closed up, what would the last project have been before the doors that
I
long?
want to say it was the Curtis Craft deals, because they were big into Curtis Craft at that time. That was the car that was left behind in there for the most part.
Oh, no way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't get to see it, but that's what I was told, that when the place went for auction, or the contents went to auction, that's basically what they took, was a Curtis Craft out of there. But
Interesting.
yeah,
Where's that car today? Do you know?
I was told.
Where's the car today? Do you know?
I have no idea.
So in terms of the structure itself, so let's talk about the building. So when you went in and you were able to clear some stuff out, you said you had time cards and you have some different paperwork and things like that. What else were you able to actually reclaim from the building?
There was some tables, there was some racking, which I have the racking. There's like some small stuff that at that time it was didn't really keep a lot of stuff, because we were just kind of like, excited about being in there and cleaning the place out. And then like there was hopes of like, man, maybe even trying to acquire the building somehow and stuff like that. And I do know some of the tables went to Mike Kleeves and them. I didn't get a table. I had one claim, but it didn't work out. I wasn't able to get it out. I do have the racking. It's currently at another facility of mine, and then like over at Matt's place, like all the little die rack holders that held the dies and little carts. I mean, they were just made out of wood and stuff like that, but it was still cool, because they painted it that cow metal green, that kind of pastel green color. So
what do you think it is about, dude? What do you think it is about California metal shaping that just has this folklore about it? Why? It's floated through the industry for years. I mean, obviously it was around before I was even around, and it still goes on to this day. Why do you think that is?
I mean, there's a lot of people like involved. You had not a lot of people used them. I mean, as far as like I have Mickey Thompson, all the way to the Motorama people like Gene Winfield and stuff like that. And it's cool because car culture. You know what I mean? And it's of course the first Daytona was built there. And got all those pictures and Dean Jeffries and all them. So yeah.
In terms of the folks and like what they're able to create, I mean, you'd mentioned a handful of names here prior. Those people, I think, have just a very similar amount of folklore around them, as did Cal Metal as a brand. No?
Yeah. Famous Red, every guy that everybody looked up to, even Scott Knight started those shaping classes and stuff like that, and then a lot of people today learn from them, so it kind of comes from, guys that I look up to is Ed Shedfield, and he learned from Red, you know what I mean? And, reached out to Ed before social media and all that stuff via like emails, the only way. And I talked to Ed I've been talking to Ed for a long time. And me and Matt finally was able to go out to Detroit and meet him for the first time, after a decade plus of talking to him on the phone and via email, him and Diane. So yeah, it was kind of cool. But yeah, it's just like people like that, spreading the.
When you were out to see him, he's in just outside of Detroit, right? Were you able to train with him as well, or was this more of a social get together?
It was like a little social get together, he kind of went around the shop, had a few of us in there and stuff like that.
Any spin-offs that you can think of? So if you think about these people who were ultra talented and then had the underlings, from various parts of mostly the US, but, the underlings of people who started their own shops and things from the things that they had learned from, days gone by, any spin-offs that have become really, really noteworthy in the industry that were directly related to Cal Metal?
Spin-offs would just be, would be the people who learned from the guys who worked there, as far as like Mike Kleeves, I know he was him and Red were real tight, and a lot of the guys, like Steve Davis that's out here in California, Stevie Davis was he wasn't necessarily linked to California metal shaping, but he was one of the greats, you know what I mean? He was and he hung around Red and knew everybody out of there, and everybody today, I want to say, is from the most part came from that, you know what I mean? It started, so I mean, a lot of people, you know, looked up to like Faye Butler and stuff like that, you know, and where he came from, Scott Knight.
Why the secrecy in the industry?
These internet cowboys that are like, hey, you know, doing it wrong, you know, and stuff like that. It's like, hey, you're doing it wrong, but it's all about the end result, you know. And I know, like, when it comes to business, it's all about speed and getting it done. But, you know, you also got to give the client something good, you know what I mean?
Get it done and get it right.
Exactly.
What do we see in the background there? There's some artifacts of some kind?
Yeah. It's this is all from California Metal Shaping. All these bucks back here. There's a couple of panels. These are some magnesium panels that came out of there. Yeah, just that type of stuff. It's still, there's some Packard stuff behind the panels. They all have, like, as you can see right here, there's those are the paper templates that go over to that buck, you know. So all the bucks kept the paper patterns and stuff like that for them, and it's, you know, they got markings on them saying use the scribe line here and stuff like that. So a bunch of little stuff like that. And then the everything I can out of there, like at least all the paperwork and stuff. I still have like letterhead paperwork. I got carbon copy invoices that are brand new. I got, you know, all their blank checks still and stuff like that, sheets of blank checks and stuff like that. So, you know, I just kept it all, you know, and like I keep looking down, and it's because I have everything, like, see, like a lot of the
cool,
the POs and stuff like that are here, you know, and time cards and stuff, and you know, you'll see, like, get all like the time cards with the hours on the back and who worked and stuff like that. Like this one is, that one's red right there. You know, he signs them off, so then they get paid.
Cool. That's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool. Back in the days of manual punch cards, those days are kind of gone, right? Those are gone.
Yeah. So yeah, I know me and Matt will go through them and like look at like how long it took, and we get it that, you know, a lot of stuff, you know, may not have been like a completely finished part, but you know what I mean? We could just kind of base things off of what we see here and stuff like that. Cause, you know, I know they had techs there, or not, I shouldn't say techs, but you know, they had like designers there. And
do you have any of the punch cards that go directly to some of the projects that you have up on the wall in the back?
I haven't linked any, because I mean, there's boxes and boxes of stuff. I haven't even gone through them in so long. But yeah, there was a few things I go through and I'll see like a certain name, and then I'll send it to somebody like, hey, look what I found, you know. Where
are they now? Any of the people that used to work there, where are they now? Some have long passed away, I'm sure, but where would they be?
I believe Don's still around. I think, you know, he's probably living life somewhere. Scott, you know, he had Scott's Hammer Works, and I think his son was running it for a while now, but he's I believe just retired. And there's another, I can't remember the individual's name, but he used to work there offhand. I think he's still around. What's his name? Lawrence. But yeah, he's down in, like, I believe down south of here.
As we wrap it up, what happened to Cal Metal? What was the ultimate demise? Why did it close?
Technology was expensive and labor was cheap. Now it's swapped, you know. You know, labor's so expensive now, especially in California, you know, all the, you know, rules and regulations that are into play here, you know what I mean? So it's just, working in California is extremely hard, you know. It's this is the hot rod capital and stuff like that, you know, but it's expensive, you know. Yeah, everybody that works in California is like, works for California, you know. Like, got an agency, got all these air quality management organizations, and so that's my belief.
Sure. It's funny. It's funny from the outside. Like I'm in Canada, right? So from the outside world, I would say that everybody looks at California as you say, the mecca of hot rods and sunshine and palm trees and all the rest of it. And we only see the good stuff.
Right.
And then when you guys are there, you're like, oh yeah, but don't forget all this.
Right.
And there's a whole other side of things that sometimes you don't see on Google. You don't see in the magazines. You don't see in the hot rod photo from the 1960s. You don't see it. You just don't. Right? It's not common knowledge. And then when you're actually living it, things might be a little different. Now, this has been great to hear a little bit about the history on the fact that you were able to get in there and see some of these things even 5 or 6 years later after the place closed up. I mean, I'm sure just if those walls could talk, the stories that they could share, right? So for me to you, thanks so much for being on the show. For those of you who are watching and tuning in, thanks for tuning into the Sheet Metal Shaping podcast. Don't forget to like, share, follow, and subscribe, and we will see you on the next episode.